Our next speaker today is Brad Ennis, who's a manager of compensation benefits and HRIS at the City of Oshawa. And his topic today will be on surveys. So survey says evidence-based decision-making in uncertain times. So now I'll stop sharing and turn it over to Brad to get us going. And during Brad's presentation, feel free to use the chat box and ask questions.
Thank you, Julia. Okay, I'm first off like to say I'm very excited to be here and talk about evidence-based decision making, specifically around surveys. I'm very passionate about this topic, so I'm just going to launch into it. Can everybody see?
Yep, looks
okay,
good.
Perfect. Yeah, and for some reason, okay, next slide. So we did practice this in rehearsal, and here we go. So sorry about that. Now I'm going to get started. So what I'm hoping to talk about is just the background of what we kind of engaged in, talk about the process, talk about the goals of our project, and then go through the analysis, the impact, and we'll introduce you to my friend Yves Dubois, and just trying to figure out what that has to do with this topic. I would just like to say, when Manny was talking about starting with the end in mind, that's something that intuitively I've always approached various projects on, and it has really come and been very helpful when doing these different projects, and especially talking to different people like HR consultants with different backgrounds to say, hey, you know what, if we want to do something effective, let's start with that endpoint. So I love the fact that you kind of set that off, Manny. So first of all, I'm going to just get into the introductions, and let's talk about the elephant in the room. So I apologize, as this picture is a bit dated. Some may say that it's from about 8 years ago. I'm actually going to claim that it was how I actually looked back in January before COVID happened. So lots been happening since then. So I pledged to this group that I will update my LinkedIn picture shortly. Actually, this is a picture that I took yesterday, and I think it's going to work really well. And yes, it was taken in an alternate universe. So this is going to be my new profile on LinkedIn. So I'm just going to say that right from the go. So about me, I'm a senior HR leader with with over 20 years of experience across multiple industries, professional services, quick service restaurants, healthcare, as well as in government. So I will say my passion is around quantifying HR and to lead organizations in using evidence to make HR decisions. My career, in addition to being an HR consultant or an HR business partner, my passions, my focus has really been around metrics, reporting, HRIS, total rewards, and so on. And I've been with the City of Oshawa since 2015. So a couple of things about, I don't know if anybody's heard of us. We're a city on we're the eastern anchor of the Greater Toronto area. We're a thriving community. Everybody, some people think, oh, we're a GM town, and we haven't been that for the last 10 years. We're continuously evolving. City of Oshawa has really turned into, especially because of its geographic location, has turned in to an education and health sciences hub as well. So if you think about, so this is basically the City of Oshawa and all the services that or departments that we provide. I think if there's anything that I want to convey this to this group is the City of Oshawa, along with other municipalities, has probably the most significant impact on the lives of residents. We provide numerous services and programs for our communities. And how we define our communities are people who live, work, and play within the City of Oshawa. So it's not just residents, people who work there. I live in Toronto, but I'm still considered part of the community because I do work there. Programs and services that we all have access to, or that we all have legislated rights to, are things like safe roads, well-maintained parks, recreation and culture activities, fire protection. We also ensure that the city can continue to grow and evolve. And of course, the city plays an important role in ensuring compliance with legislation, bylaws, and standards. So a whole wealth of activities. I'm sure we all have various very positive experience with how our local government can and does help us. So as for the HR department, so we're about 16 members, and we provide services for over 1,200 staff. So that goes from members of, firefighters to our inside workers, our outside workers, non-union staff, our recreation staff. So those are the lifeguards that that we see when we go to a city pool or and so on. So we're pretty busy. So that's just a little bit of the introductions about myself and my organization. So now I'm going to talk about the background. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about surveys. What was really driving this survey is, the last 7 months have been very unprecedented, requiring extraordinary measures to help the spread of COVID-19. And as we've all experienced, the COVID-19 situation was continuously and rapidly changing. And, at the city, our top priority was, ensuring the health and well-being of not only our staff, but our community members as well. Throughout this journey, we've been in constant contact with our partners, and developing comprehensive strategies and measures to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. So some of the biggest measures that we've had, and whatever community that you've lived in, you probably have experienced or heard them as well. So closing down or cancellation of community and recreation programs, as well as facilities, closing our city hall and other buildings to the public. And this includes things like our city hall, our fire halls, which traditionally have been a very welcoming facilities within local communities. And we've also shifted how we delivered services to our clients, going from in-person to over the phone and online. So the focus of the HR department in the spring was really around supporting COVID-19's impact on staff. So supporting closing of services and deployment of staff, adapting our HR programs and services to deal with new demands, developing support and resources for our managers and staff, and of course, a lot of communications. So of course, the summer brought some new optimism as we were seeing more and more evidence that that Ontario, Durham region, and the City of Oshawa specifically were successful in flattening the curve. So our focus in the summer was really around reopening and supporting, enhancing services provided to our community. So this meant bringing back staff to the workplace, introducing how service delivery would work, as well as how relationships would be in this new normal. So in light of this challenge and the opportunity, we identified that it was really important to start engaging our staff and determining how we would support the reopening. And this was a big culture shift for us because, you know, we recognized that we had some bad experiences with surveying in the past. So we kind of needed to shake that fear and really find a mechanism to provide a forum for two-way communication and gain feedback. So we didn't want to call it a survey because of our fear. So we called it affectionately around the group as It's Not a Survey. So that's a title that we kind of maintain throughout. So if anybody says, "Oh, Brad, how's the survey going?" Oh, it's like, "Oh, well, you mean the survey, not a survey?" So that's how our discussion went. So our process. So this is really when we talk about, you know, starting at the ending, because I think the discussion started with, you know, with just a kind of a remark, "Oh, we should do a survey." And it's like, okay, well, tell me more. We should do a survey. What's the point of the survey? What are we trying to achieve? And, you know, this is where our historical fears about surveys came up. It's like, "Oh, well, we just want to do a check-in." It's like, well, okay, well, you know, I hope to endeavor just to do more than a check-in if we're going to do that. Otherwise, we can just, you know, go out right now and put up a question and we're good. So in order to enact what I like to call Operation It's Not a Survey, we assembled a cross-functional team, members from our HR group, to design and develop the survey. So in addition to myself, we had a team of various subject matter experts. So on health and safety, labor and employee relations, communications, training and development, as well as technical administrative expertise. We started our journey by having a structured and focused conversation to flush out the overall goals and objectives of the survey. And I'll get into what we nailed down as our goals for the survey on the next slide. Once we understood our goals and objectives, we were able to design our data collection and analysis plan. You know, and you know, part of the focus was really around exploring, you know, a few key themes. And we identified that we would do this through a series of mini surveys, again, just to you know, address that concern or that you know, the survey fears. So we just, you know, called them check-ins, and we did, you know, a series of 3 of them. So the 3 themes that we wanted to explore is the work experience. So asking people about their experiences working from home or from city work sites. Staff overall feelings around safety and health and returning to the workplace, as well as personal challenges that staff may be experiencing around returning, and as well as overall communications. So we also drilled down on these themes in order to create survey questions. So as an example, for the work, the theme around work experience, we identified that we actually specifically wanted to survey or obtain feedback from staff around overall experience from working from home in the office, positive aspects, as well as challenges that we were facing. And then based on those sub-themes, we were able to quickly develop our questions. So as for the rollout, we wanted to ensure that we had as much participation as possible. And to achieve that, we kind of employed the following tactics. And these were kind of new for us. So we made sure that the survey was communicated over multiple platforms. So, you know, through our internet, through email, as well as on our monitors. Bear in mind, we do have a significant population that through their jobs, they don't have access on a daily basis to computers. So we wanted to make sure that we advertised on a forum that they would have access to. And, as well, we wanted to ensure that the survey could be completed over different formats. So either computer or through mobile devices, just so that we could get as many people into the fold as possible. And so the biggest one was we bribed staff, provided incentives to get staff to participate. So we reached out to our vendors. We got some great prizes. We had 2 prizes of a golf package, so included 2 weekend golf passes as well as a prepaid Visa card, so people can go and enjoy the entire experience. So yeah, and then that last piece is we wanted to have a good plan in place to communicate out the results, both to our leadership level, but as well as to staff, and try to and be able to provide meaning around this experience for them. So as I mentioned, we did have specific goals. So the goals of our survey, but not a survey, was really around engaging staff, understanding the employee experience, and informing the corporation's response to COVID-19 and the reopening. We also had some other goals. So, making sure that we had a good communication platform, or we developed a platform or a methodology to share information. So believe it or not, the surveys were kind of crafted so that there was some education components on it. We wanted to make sure that staff could express their concerns. And again, really about that flow, enhancing that flow of information. So, with that in mind, we designed the survey, and then we ended up launching it. So a few weeks later, we had all the data in hand. So it was all about starting to analyze the information. So as we talked about, the work experience, what we actually kind of uncovered was that for survey respondents, about 70% were telecommuters, 30% worked from the city. What we did find around telecommuters, and this was a novel work arrangement for us, although we had been trying to introduce alternative work arrangements for quite some time. There's always been, some reservations at the leadership level to introduce these different work arrangements. Well, let me tell you, there was nothing quicker to get us used to innovation than having a global pandemic. So that's been, some of the good takeaways from that. We did find that out of, the telecommuters, 75% would love to continue these arrangements once we get back to normal. Not the new normal, but, the full normal when, work sites are back open and so on. So there was a lot of uptake on that. We found out that some of the things that staff appreciated the most around working from home was their own personal health and safety, and a new avenue for work-life balance. In terms of opportunities or challenges, well, they definitely missed, we're a very social workplace, and people did miss their peers. Technology was an issue. We had a hard time signing up people for accessing the network and so on. So of course, fortunately, our IT department really had to respond in a significant way, and they did a great job at that. Another thing that was kind of a challenge was around access to workplace tools and materials and so on. At the City Works site, what they really appreciated was, they get to continue with their routine. They have access to tools. Technology is pretty good. And it was very quiet. I actually went in when there was nobody in the office, and yes, it was quiet, but I actually found it kind of eerie quiet. Some of the challenges around health and safety concerns, physical distancing concerns, like people not observing it. So that was kind of like our first indication that the health and safety piece was a bit of an area of concern. And I'll delve into that a little bit on the next slides. So that second survey check-in that we did was on overall feelings. So 78%, and this had to do with our plans on reopening. As I mentioned, we're having a lot of momentum. Hey, how do we start delivering services for our clients, for our citizens? And there was an acknowledgement that we're probably going to have to bring more and more people back into the physical work sites. 78% of respondents did feel confident or somewhat confident in the safety measures in place for the return to work. There was a lot of uncertainty how the workplace would operate upon their return. And there were also concerns about, physical distancing with coworkers, as well as people concerned about, the concept or the potential for staff for themselves to wear masks. So that was a bit of an issue at work. Some of the positives around or positive aspects were people were excited to get to see their coworkers again and, hang out and, talk ideas and so on, and not have to depend on Skype. That's our platform for collaboration. So it's not the best tool out there, but we made do. Now, all employees also identified that safety measures in the workplace is an important topic to hear about. So that's kind of the information that they wanted. And they also wanted to know how their roles were going to change. So they really, looked at this opportunity through the surveys to say, hey, these are the types of information that we really want to dig deeper in. Personal challenges. So one thing that I was very surprised about is people were ready to come back, and they said, yeah, give me a week or less, and I can be at work, no issues. The staff did identify, though, that some of the challenges that they had was around, catching COVID-19 when they return, or fears related to vulnerable family members. So that's something that we really wanted to, to take notes of. Now, here was actually a very underlying issue that we found, that staff really identified that consistent communication throughout all phases, deep briefings around new protocols, and clarity around safety protocols would really enhance their comfort levels when coming back to the workforce. So impact. So yes, a lot of the times, sometimes you do surveys and a lot of people, or, sometimes it's very, tempting to say, okay, well, let's stop here. We got some great analysis. We had charts and bar graphs, and it was just, fantastic. But really it was, the meat of this, and this is really what I worked with my team for, was, again, let's talk about impact, because this is what's going to support the work that we've done on this. So, and I'm going to present it in terms of those three goals that I talked about earlier: engagement of staff, understanding employee experience, and informing the city's response. So in terms of staff engagement, I would say we really hit the mark. Over the three surveys, we received over 500 responses. So that was about an average of 170 per survey. Good representation, although yes, we did get 25% of frontline staff. The corporate types of positions, so HR, finance, IT, those were the bulk of the respondents. inside workers. So that's our one of our union groups, and our non-union group were, represented about 86% of responses. Education platform. We definitely, encourage or did have a lot of great response and a lot of buzz. People were asking about the prizes, and we were pretty successful in enhancing or creating that awareness of our COVID education portal. Finally, in terms of two-way communication, staff actively provided feedback, and the corporation, responded through analysis and as well as our follow-up through the communication. So, here's an example of hitting that education point as well as that follow-up communication. This is what we distributed to staff. So it provides, a nice infographic on the different bins that we assessed. But one of the things that I really appreciated from this, and this is, the genius of our communications team, who were part of this process, was to include links to additional information. So if people were saying, "Oh, I want more about working from home," okay, well, here's some more resources that we have. So it was a great platform to encourage additional learning and education. So understanding the employee experience. So I'm very happy to say, because the flexible work arrangements, that was my baby. So to roll this out and get it, introduced to the organization was a great, and what we understood from, the surveying and the discussion and through our analysis was, in order to enhance the experience, we really need to continue to evolve our technology, improve access to tools, resources, and materials, and refine policies and tools that support social interaction. So one very interesting thing is, yes, we're all doing Skype, but believe it or not, we're only using Skype for phone. We're not using it as much for video. There's a few individuals that, say, yeah, let's do video. And that I try to be one of those individuals because, I prefer seeing people's faces when I talk. But I would say predominantly, although we have this great tool, people are just replacing it with the phone. So, as we reopen and more employees return to the city work sites, another kind of observation is we need to continue to ensure that health and safety concerns need to be addressed, and really around physical distancing, because people were still scared about, COVID exposure. And as we get into this, to our second wave, this is going to be more and more meaningful to our staff, and our efforts are going to have to be, really focused on that. One of the biggest items that we did find through this is, although survey response did have concerns around how the business operates, there were a lot of conflicting, like especially when we went into the comments section to kind of look a little bit deeper than what the data was suggesting. There seems to be two groups within the city. The one group that are very are really cognizant about COVID-19 and understand how damaging or destructive it can be, and then we have another group that weren't as concerned, and this created a lot of controversy or potential for conflict for these two groups, because one group is like, oh, you should wear a mask, we should wear masks, we need to be 6 feet apart. And the other groups, no big deal. And, and it was more of a laissez-faire kind of attitude. So, we knew that as we started reopening, we needed to start addressing that big concerns that people were providing. So here's the big one. So people say, okay, you did a survey, so what? You found out the experiences, you did some good analysis. Well, what did you do with this information? So, sorry, I'm just, Okay, so one of the things that we did kind of totally appreciate was the viability of telecommuting. So, first we said, okay, this is a great measure to further help physical distancing at the workforce, so that the critical staff that are actually needed to deal directly with clients could be there in a safer environment, so that we're not all shoulder to shoulder, neck to jowl, I believe is another expression that you hear. So it's been a great experience from that perspective, but it's also a viable opportunity for the new practice, or another way to do business for City. And I think managers have really appreciated this, both because they've been working from home and it's like, oh yeah, I'm super productive, and they're seeing their staff, they're engaged, they're working hard, and so on. So that's something that they really kind of understood. So as you remember, I mentioned that conflict, or that opportunity for controversy. Well, this is when, based on the results, we actually really pushed in human resources for a formal mask mandate. And it went from, oh, well, yeah, you just need a mask in shared areas, if other people are being there, but that wasn't easy to enforce. So we had the new rule, or the new mandate was, anytime you're not in your office or at your work desk, you're wearing a mask. This could mean going down to the hallways to go to the bathroom, getting a pencil from the stock room, and so on. You're wearing a mask. So that's been really appreciated by staff who did have those concerns. But along with that was to establish protocols for health and safety compliance. And this, specifically around, if people aren't wearing the mask, if they're not following physical distancing or other safety protocols, to have, to clarify our protocols to address non-compliance. And we started, very outright saying, okay, so at first it's going to be that care and concern, that education, but it's also now a matter of progressive discipline if you're not following these. So that empowered staff. It also empowered managers to know how to deal with that. Enhanced supports, that's something else that we actively worked on. We recognize that, who knows, with the school year opening, people might need to come back and work from home. So what kind of supports can we provide to those staff members who might not have the opportunity for work from home? So, adapting our programs and so on. Just to final off, my last 3 points, a lot around technology. So enhancing our technology, getting new ways of doing it. There's a counter group, a counter Skype group, and I was kind of leading that within HR that was trying to bring teams in, much better products. So although it doesn't work across all platforms at the city, we're starting to use it more and more. Communications, so we really enhanced our communications, and we do get a lot of recognition for that. And this whole process really kind of reinforced our approach around collaboration with staff, as well as collaboration with our unions in terms of getting through this crisis. So the last thing I'm going to say is, based on what you've heard, what can we learn from Yves Dubois? So I don't know if you remember this, but the question was, what is Popeye's favorite food? She responded, chicken, and this is the end of that. One of my favorite clips from we always laugh at that, especially her reaction. It kind of, for me, it kind of shows, really understand what the question is, really what you're trying to understand, and don't count on chicken. And if there's anything else this group can, think of, I would invite them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Those slides were very entertaining.
Thank you.
And